Does each person have only one person that God had made for them as their spouse? What if they miss each other for any reason? What is constant is the will of God. Human beings are variables. Is that clear? What is constant is what? The will of God. Human beings are what? Variables. God brings two people together to fulfill his will. So, if for any reason they miss out on each other, now there's a quiet thinking, there's a quiet presupposition that there's going to be an ideal, perfect life without any form of disagreement that people assume in the back of their head when they are talking about meeting the right person. All right? But what you need to know is that if you see any couple living that ideal, if you see any couple that seem to be living out that ideal, go and check the price they paid on each other before they got there. It didn't happen automatic. They were both willing to pay the price for that to be achieved. There were 1,000 deaths the man died. To his pride, to his ego, to his desires. There were 1,000 deaths the wife died. To her fantasies, to her desires, to her dreams. Before they eventually synchronized and got to that place. Are we together? So, don't you ever think that there is this right person that I will never have issues. Perfect will of God marriages that were brought together under the perfect will of God. That will of God that is perfect is true. The only problem is God has what he had on his mind, which is his will. The man has his concept of what he believes the will of God mean to him. The wife has her concept of what she believes the perfect will of God mean to her. So there are three different understandings coming together in that perfect will of God marriage. Do you get it? So when the thing is playing out, and it's not playing out according to the perfect will of God definition of what the wife thinks, and that also goes for the man, and that also goes for God, what do you think is going to happen? There's going to be chaos. And that is why the man will die 1,000 deaths for it to work, for him to get to accept what the original will of God is and go beyond his understanding of what he believes the perfect will of God means. And so does the wife. And then both of them come in sync to what the original, actual, raw will of God is. That is when you see that home that reflects Christ. That thing doesn't happen because you are pronounced man and wife on an anointed altar by an apostle. Are you with me? So that's how it works. So, is there a particular single individual that kind of understanding cannot be biblical in a particular sense, and it cannot be logical? Because what happens, what if both of you get married and one dies shortly afterwards? Is there a biblical precedence why the living spouse should not get married and move on? Are we following? Yeah. Praise the Lord. But this is not also it should not be used as a basis where we are careless about the will of God that God reveals to us. Because someone can say, after all, you are not the only one that can match the will of God for me. If God has told you, this is my will for you, and then you say, after all, the will of God is constant. The humans are variables. So, I don't like this one. God, change it. Or you did as if you didn't hear wait until that person move on. And then say, hey, the Lord, what were you saying? Yes, let's look into this matter again. Because you are thinking that maybe the next option will be close to your spec. It's possible that there is only one of its kind, which is a perfect will of God, on the shelf for you. If you miss that one, somebody else can be managed to come and fill that space, but you will have to live with it. You know what it means when they say you are living with? The Lord give you understanding. So don't miss what God says, this is what I desire for you. Don't miss it. Under the guise of, after all, we can always have another person that will still be perfect will. Is that clear?